Hey, what's up everybody? This is Like It's 1985. This is my review of the Toybiz 5-figure set. This is the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, Helm's Deep battle set. And starting off the review, we're taking a look at the back of the box here. And you can see there actually is a brief description of the Battle of Helm's Deep. And if you look closely, you can see there's imagery in the background. You can see there the breach of the walls. Some of the characters from that movie. So, looking at the top of the box, it does have the names of the figures and where they're placed in the actual set. So from left to right, this is how the figures appear in package. And on the front, you get the clear plastic, so you can clearly see the figures in package, and the bottom here. Alright, so as you can see behind the figures, there is a very, very cool diorama. And this is really cool. It actually has a ledge on there, and you can actually place your figures on that ledge if you so desire. And really use that to good effect for display purposes. So, for example, Gimli here can be placed up here, as well as the other characters or figures. So that is really cool. And that's actually how they appear in the packaging. But for now, let me remove the background or the backdrop here and focus on the figures. Now, the reason I'm reviewing this set is because of the shortly upcoming Hobbit movie. And so I thought it'd be good timing to go ahead and review these. A little bit of note about these figures. These figures have built-in gimmicks. So the articulation is going to be compromised by that. And I'll show you when we do the articulation what that means for each figure, because each figure has a different gimmick built into the figure. So let's start off on the right here and take a look at Gimli. So first we'll look at the figure up close, and then we'll take a look at the weaponry, and finally the articulation. And that is how I will be conducting this review. Now Gimli, as all of these figures are, is very, very nicely detailed. The helmet, I should say Helm, does come off and is nicely detailed, so you can get a good view of Gimli's there. Gimli does come with 4 axe-based weapons. You can see there's 2 here, and he's got the double-bladed axe, I guess you call it, or double-headed axe that I have in his left arm. And he has a loop on his belt to place one of the axes. Now, the gimmick for this particular figure, for Gimli, is you squeeze the legs together and the right arm moves. So squeeze and moves. There you go. Now what that's supposed to do is you're supposed to take one of these axes here. I believe it really is meant for the shorter axes. And you can only place the axe so far deep into the palm of the hand. This is about as far as you can go. But that really is to aid the axe throwing gimmick. So let's try it out here. That works pretty well. Let me try it with the longer bladed axe here and see what that does. It should work the same way, I think. That one just happened to flip backwards off of the camera, but it does work with the longer ones too. And a really cool figure. So articulation for Gimli. The head rotates. It appears to be, well, I actually don't know what kind of joint it might be. It might be a ball joint, but the head really, on my figure at least, only has left to right. There's very little, if no movement at the upwards and downwards. You do have articulation at the shoulders, at least at the left arm, articulation at the wrist, and then you have the arm which has the gimmick, so you could move it up and down like that, and out a little bit. There's a joint right there for that, and rotate at the wrists. There does not appear to be elbow or bicep articulation for Gimli here. Possibly due to the articulation or the gimmick, there is no chest or waist articulation, although let me see here. Nope, because it has to have that gimmick built in to move the arm there. So there you go, Gimli. Pretty cool. Let me put his helm back on. And let's take a look at Theoden. Theoden here, actually, I reviewed the Kings of Middle-earth set, and Theoden appears in that set as well as this set, and they appear to be exactly the same. On the left here is the one that came in the Helm's Deep set. On the right here is the one that came in the Kings of Middle-earth multi-pack set. And you can see pretty much it's exactly the same. It has the same gimmick, which I'll get into right now. There's a big, obnoxious button here coming out of his back. Actually, before I do that, let me go into the detail of this figure. Sorry about that, I got a little ahead of myself, but again, as the camera focuses here, there is fantastic detail on his armor. Just amazing. That's unfortunate, but that's due to the gimmick, and we will get to that. But other than that, really nicely detailed. Fantastic. Really cool. The helm is removable, and there you have a look at Theoden. Articulation for this guy. Well, let me get into the gimmick first. You can see his left arm does the slashing motion there. You can still articulate though, although you can see there it's on some kind of joint there due to the gimmick that you can still articulate it, but really it's meant for the gimmick. So let me demonstrate on this other arm the articulation all the way around, out, and there is a swivel just above the elbow, and then you have elbow articulation and you have wrist articulation. And here it appears to be the same. You just have the gimmick there. Appears to be just a swivel at the waist, no ab articulation. Legs, due to the skirt here, are going to be limited, but looks like you got out the side, back, forward, and doesn't appear to be any kind of swivel joint at the thigh or the hip, but you do got a bend at the knee there, as you can see, and articulation at the ankle, like that. And a little pivot there, as you can see. Pivot, so you got that. But I thought there might be, articulation above the boot or above the shin armor here, but not really. Just a knee joint. And you can take a sword out of his hand here, and he does have a working sheath, although it looks like actually this guy's got a pretty good grip on it. But you can see you can actually fit the sword in there. The sheath actually does work, is functional. So there's Theoden. Put him to the back here. And now we come to Aragorn. Take a look at the details first. Nicely detailed here on his face with his facial hair. Really cool. This is due to the being in the box for so long. This is warped a little bit. It's just a soft plastic, so that can probably be fixed by a little heat or something like that. You've got a weapon back here. It does come out. It's soft plastic. And that does go back into the sheath there. Take a look here at more details. Now on this figure here, it has like a brown tan color, almost like it's dirt, or supposed to be dirt. So that's kind of interesting. The gimmick here is when you swivel his waist, he has sword slashing action. The sword is just a little bit loose, on the verge of falling out from his right hand there. And you can see his left hand is not really sculpted, I don't think, to hold a... Well, it might be. You could probably get the dagger in here. But even then, it's kind of a loose fit there. So, since the sword is so loose, let me see if I can demonstrate the functional sheath here. There we go. So that is Aragorn. And just for a visual comparison, since I do have the Aragorn, or King Aragorn, from the Kings of Middle-earth set, here he is. Let me see if I can, I guess that doesn't come off, but I guess a facial comparison there, or a sculpting comparison, just for an idea. I've actually reviewed this a while back, so you can take a look at that review if you want. So, and he does look very weird without his sword in his hand, so let me go ahead and put that back in there. So, Aragorn. And let me go ahead and take a look at Haldir, I believe his name is pronounced. He's got it back there. Fantastic looking figure. You can see he's got very nicely detailed armor and quiver for his arrows. It's got the button here for the gimmick feature, which really ruins the look, but it's on the back, so I guess it's okay. Nice looking cloak here. It can reveals the actual looks like chainmail armor. You can see really made out of soft plastic. Head sculpt. And armor. It's really nice. And as you can see, he has a bow. I guess you might call that a long bow. And it's supposed to be a functional bow where you can actually shoot the arrows out. He does have 3 additional arrows here, and the tips here are made of really soft plastic, and they just go into there for storage. It's supposed to be functional. You're supposed to put the shaft here between his 2 fingers there, which I was able to do, but then you're supposed to push the button, and his arm is supposed to pull back and release the arrow, which I've tried off camera and it didn't really want to work for me. So, but the instructions tell you you're supposed to be able to do that. So let me go ahead and take the arrow out here, otherwise it's going to be hard to demonstrate the articulation. The arrow itself, all 4 of them, they have a notch. You can see that notch right there, and that notch is designed to hold the I don't know what part of the bow you call this, but the wire here, it's not really made of wire, it's actually a piece of almost like thread-like material. But anyways, it has some elasticity as well. You can see it, you pull back. And when you actually pull back on the wire, the bow does, you know, it does make a realistic motion. So if I figure out how to demonstrate that on camera, I might do that as a follow-up review to this, but as of now, I really can't demonstrate the bow and arrow feature. Moving on to articulation for this guy. It does appear that he has a joint here at the base of his neck, and I believe, I'm trying to figure out whether he actually has a separate joint where his neck connects to his head, which it almost seems like he doesn't, because it looks like it's one solid sculpt. From the base of his neck all the way to his head. So anyways, it doesn't really matter because his head can do this, although that kind of gets in the way there, but you can look around like that. Not so much up and down. And you got shoulder articulation here. No bicep swivel. You do have a bend at the elbow. And on the right arm, the wrist does not articulate. And that actually looks to be the case on the left wrist as well. Probably because they didn't want that, they wanted this one solid piece probably just to be able to hold the bow in a steady fashion. Otherwise it would be a difficulty holding the bow, probably with articulation at the wrist. Let me see if I can get the bow out here. I don't want to try to do it because it might break it, but then he has his sword here, which does have a functional sheath. You can see there. Nicely detailed, really cool. So let me go ahead and see if I can place that in his hand here. sort of. You can see the way that his left or right hand is sculpted. He has the two fingers out to really hold the end of the arrow. So that doesn't really quite work out. And, well, let me go ahead and try this. Wish me good luck here. I don't want to break anything, but this bow is really nice, even though it's not quite functional as I would like it to, or, ooh, that's scary. Not quite as functional as the instructions would have you believe, at least, there we go, at least that I can see. But yeah, holds it better in his left hand. So, moving on with articulation, he does have a swivel joint at the waist. Legs, again, are going to be hampered because of the skirt armor, but you can get him back about that. Forward, out the side a bit. You have a bend at the knee. Doesn't appear to be a swivel of any type at the thigh. You do have the swivel at the boot there, which is nice. And then articulation at the ankles. And there appears to be some pivot there, as well as this type of motion. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, if I'm able to get the bow and arrow to work, I will go ahead and create a short little video as an update to this particular review. So, if I can get this guy to stand here again, I will go ahead and show you the last figure, which is all the young ladies' favorites in the audience. This, of course, is Legolas. He does have a bow as well and arrows. And let me go ahead and see if I can take this out of his hand. This one is supposed to work differently. You can see it has these arrows here. And I just realized I'm actually going out of the order I said I would. But there's no real way to notch it on the on this part of the bow. I mean, you can kind of maybe go like this. Yeah, it kind of works like that. I don't think it's really going to work too well trying to do that with the bow in the figure's hand. Whoops. Alright. Hang on, Legolas. I know you want to make all the ladies swoon by showing your face. So yeah, helmet is removable. And there is Legolas. As we focus the camera here. It does bear a likeness to the actual actor, I think, as do all of these particular figures, which is amazing, and just goes to show you how well Toybiz has done with these. Certainly isn't Hot Toys quality in terms of likeness, but pretty darn close. Not too shabby. So you got the head sculpt, you got the nice leather, well, not real leather, but faux leather straps and buckles, the armor here on his shoulders, and you got the details on his forearm, his cloak, which is a softer plastic, although you can see there, details in his leggings, and on the back, his nice cloak here. Take a close look there. It's actually textured really nicely. Fantastic. The quiver here for his arrows, really nice. And you can see the quiver here also actually can house the blades. You have two blades here that are removable, like that. And you have his sword here. And should be able to get the blades in his hand. Yeah, there we go. It looks like based on how his left hand is sculpted, it should be possible as well. The reason I'm not showing you is because my camera is telling me I'm actually running low on space. So there he is, Legolas. So this is a pretty nice set. I actually got it for around $40, I believe. So when you consider per figure cost, that's not bad at all. So I enjoy these figures more than I do the Hobbit releases of the 3 3/4 inch scale. I just think these are a lot better because of the size. You can get a lot more detail, of course, on these figures. So there you go. This is the Toybiz Lord of the Rings Two Towers Helm's Deep Battle Set. Pretty darn cool. And since they were released a while back, your best bet is going to be eBay or your local comic book store. Alright everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.